Today we're looking at two prototype games, Mining Colony and Biblios Quill and Parchment. Both of these games are on Kickstarter from Dr. Finn's Games. Thank you for joining me today at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Kevin Delp. Dr. Finn's Games is bringing 4 games to Kickstarter at the end of August. We have 2 of them here in prototype form. We're going to look at Mining Colony first, and then we'll move later in the video to Biblios Quill and Parchment. Now, Mining Colony is a tile-laying game for 1 to 4 players that takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play. The theme is about sending teams of workers to a nearby resource-rich planet, but it has a harsh and inhospitable environment. You're trying to build the best mining colony and outperform the other players. Here's a quick overview of Mining Colony. In each round you have 3 phases: the discovering phase, the excavation phase, and then the development phase. Basically, you see what's available, get some of those items, and then put them on your player board. After 10 rounds, you see who has the most points. At the beginning of the round, you reveal cards that tell you what resources and items are available. Players then play 1 card from their hand, hoping to get the group of items they need. Higher numbers will pick before lower numbers. And then players put these items on their player boards. Placing tiles on your board helps grow your colony. Items go on certain spots. You also have crystals, ships, workers, and stations. If you can put 2 purple crystals like this, then you gain a science station, if one's still available. A same colored worker and ship give you a matching outpost. These all help with end game points. It's sort of a race because there's limited numbers of these stations and outposts available, and it's sort of a mind game too because of the number cards that you have in your hand. Do you play a high number? Do you play a low number? So that's going on as well. Then after 10 rounds, you count up points to see who wins. Negative for any uncovered spaces, points for things you have on your board, points for credits, and points based on your unplayed cards. The game has tile laying with the polyomino tiles and then adds a little bit more puzzliness with it as you're laying even more things on those tiles, like the structures and the resources. Let's move to Biblios Quill and Parchment. There's a monastery board in the middle of the table. Each player gets a player board, dice, and a marker. Here's a quick overview of Biblios Quill and Parchment. This is a roll and write version of Biblios. The game's played over 8 rounds. The first 4 rounds, players are simultaneously rolling their own dice, trying to gain lots of different things. Then the second 4 rounds, they are bidding influence that they gained during the first 4 rounds to gain different sets of dice, taking more actions, all trying to get the most points in the game. Let's look at what you do in the first 4 rounds of the game, called Period 1. Everyone simultaneously rolls their dice, 2 influence dice, 3 resource dice, and 1 travel die. You can choose to re-roll 1, none, or all, and can do that up to 2 times. You sum up the influence dice and you write it here. You'll go up the different resource tracks based on what you rolled. The travel die allows you to move to spots on the small map. Gaining benefits along the way and reaching towns gets you points for the end of the game. If you roll a chapel icon, you'll be placing your icon in a pew row, trying to go higher and higher, getting benefits along the way and then points at the end of the game. After 4 rounds of this, you'll move to the last 4 rounds called Period 2. Players secretly bid each round a number of their influence points. From highest to lowest bidder, players take a row of dice from the monastery board, taking actions based on what is on the dice. Similar to what you did in the first 4 rounds, going up the resource tracks, traveling, and going to the chapel. Each row has a special bonus. The top row of dice also give you the embellishment die. That will let you adjust the pip values of the dice on the monastery board. This is super important at the end of the game because players will be scoring points for each type of resource. Person with the most marks on a given track get 3 times the value of that monastery die. Second gets 2 times, and then 1, and then half. You'll do that for every colored track. The second row allows you to change a book icon to the chapel icon. The third row allows you to travel further, and the fourth row allows you to re-roll a book die. After the last 4 rounds of bidding and taking the corresponding actions, the game ends and you count up points to see who wins. On the board itself, the player board, it has different areas where you're putting your points, basically for points you get for these areas, and then from the chapel, and then you're getting points here from the cross. The way to get points from the cross is if like you reach the top level of a certain column, and instead of placing a mark there because you can't, you could place a mark over here on the cross. Every 4 leftover influence is a point. Basically, you're getting points from where you visited here, the different towns, and then if you were able to reach the top spot of these different columns, you get points there based on if you're there for 2nd or 3rd. There's another side to the player board that gives some variance to the tracks and a new way to travel. You are drawing lines through the boxes, drawing one continuous line to the different spots. If you're familiar with Biblios, then there's going to be some things that are going to be familiar to you, like the 2 phases, the colored dice that you can adjust the values that really affect the scoring at the end of the game. The game uses erasable markers, so you don't have to worry about using paper like a lot of roll and write games. Lots of choices that you can make during the game, even with the luck of the dice, like what tracks you're going to go up, and I think this matters even more the second half of the game when you are bidding on the different sets of dice, because you can basically bid more to get the row that you need because it has the colors that you need to go up the certain tracks or going certain places on your player board. The theme comes through fine with the art and illustrations. There's even a man riding a snail, which I think is fun. Now, these are only 2 of the 4 games that will be launching on Kickstarter from Dr. Finn's Games. The other ones are Nanga Parbat. It's a 2-player game that has Push Your Luck and set collection. And then there's the Butterfly Garden, and that is a 2nd edition that has set collection to it, and that's for 2 to 5 players. So check out the Kickstarter campaign from Dr. Finn's Games to see all that will be on that campaign. Mining Colony, Biblios Quill and Parchment, Nanga Parbat, and the Butterfly Garden. And as always, we would love for you to like this video and subscribe to Tantrum House.